Okay, so getting back, getting to a different conversation, different topic about something uh, complex, but uh, interesting to understand a little about like a in this sci-fi book, The Exister. It's more like something like this. Like it's kind of like there's a book called Entangled Minds by Dean Radin. He deals with like socioeconomic things a little in the book. The thing about it is, I don't. But what I'm talking about is I figured out some kind of principle. Like how I started thinking about it was I wanted to see Picard peering out into space from Next Generation, Star Trek, Next Generation. Patrick Stewart, Picard, who was the captain of the Enterprise on Star Trek, peering out into space, and I didn't get a good view on that, but it was interesting because I just wanted to see a clip of it on YouTube. The thing of it is this: that's what got me started on this whole idea, and then I saw a few clips, and then it was interesting. But what I wanted to say is this: really, Descartes came up with "I think, therefore I am." Descartes, who was a French philosopher in the 1700s, around that time. And that's interesting too. It's about Descartes. You can't say things straight out, Descartes. You probably came up with this too, about just to study things like this. It looks like this: there's a collective, and there's the majority, and then there's the minority of the world populace, which is the basics. Now the collective and the basics are like a cigarette, and the collective are like the workforce. The problem is like why? They're in entertainment, they're in things like the arts and stuff, the minority. The funny thing about it, things that are pleasurable for the collective, which is the majority. You can't break into the collective. I'm talking about people's how things are structured. It's like a net of people's intelligence almost. Like it doesn't allow you in, and you have to maintain. The problem of that is like, that's why you can have a problem economically in life sometimes. You can have problems, or you might not. But the funny thing about it is it could be a structure of how things work, and then how it just like it has a limit. The collective has a limit. And then there's like a power structure greater than them, beyond them. And the collective doesn't care. Like when you deal with a horde or a mass of people, it doesn't care. It's like the demand things. Things are on demand. Like you're on demand. Anything good for the workforce is on demand, and they don't care. They enjoy it, and they see things differently than you might expect, which is what the point of this segment is about. It looks like this, and this premise looks like this. If there's a collective, and there's which is the majority of the world populace, and there's a minority, which is like a basic. Well, understand that basic is like a cigarette. You're like a cigarette in terms of it's cool in a way, and not cool in a way too. If you think complicatedly about what I'm talking about, it's kind of like a scenario which is very interesting about how you can not understand a lot about why things are the way they are for you right now, or why they will be in the future in karma. But getting back to the problem of the echelons, two echelons also where it divides, and the power structures there. That's what keeps things the same, really, because you can't get beyond two echelons. If you do, you see why it's more complicated. It's complicated. It's very funny about power structures. It revolves around the understanding of trying to figure out two echelons you never can. It's that funny, and things appear to be different in life. It appears to change out of the collective and this basic theory to something else, and it doesn't. It always stays at that. That's what I've noticed with humanoids and this discussion with humans. The thing about it is, you start wondering what you're good for after a certain period of time. But yeah, it is funny about that. It is funny about that. But listen, it is a interesting idea to understand something very complicated, really. Look, when you can't get beyond two echelons in power, and it always stays the same, and it appears different all the time, it appears like a different scenario. You always wonder why another dude gets a job in a minute and then gets like hooks up in a minute. Well, he could be part of a collective, though. It's weird. The individual does know it too. It's almost like a separation in society, and it's very fascinating. But one thing you have to understand, it's not something that it creates the massive societal machines to work right. But on another level, it's something that has no real it's kind of like a simplicity of something. I'm breaking something down into a simplicity for someone to understand it, and I had to understand that. And that is a phenomenal thing, really, to understand like why things can be so uncaring people, and you still have to do your job correctly. No matter, doesn't matter. But like people, like the ones in the minority are different in characteristic. But what keeps them oriented is like, what is their order, right? What is the minority's order? How do they stay organized? Well, awakening to K helps. I can say that, and it keeps you oriented along the lines where you have to go too. It's funny.